I think Roger has a valid right. What happens now, in the umpire's judgment, if any pitch now delivered by any San Francisco or Cardinal pitcher comes close at the batter, it's an automatic ejection for the pitcher and the batter. That pitch just got away.
I'm not sure Frank Williams throws hard enough to hurt anybody anyway.
Exactly right. And he throws, you know, he throws sidearm like that. You saw a slider that came closer to John Tudor than that pitch to Vince Coleman.
This one goes behind him. He's out. He's out of the game. Here come the Cardinals. Look out. Here we go. And this is where the umpires really get tested. That ball went behind Coleman. Ejected from the game is Frank Williams. And we're going to have a good old-fashioned baseball discussion. And the umpires, so badly outnumbered, really have their hands full.
You see Chris Brown right there, the back of the pack, and he wants somebody. Now, Roger Craig is ejected also in this situation. He and Whitey are chewing out each other right now.
Look at them. Look at them.
I believe Whitey now thinks that he was deliberately.
Oh, that's Whitey and Roger Craig. Look at that. Oh, my. Well, isn't that something? The two managers.
We got Kruko is after somebody.
Mike Kruko.
Danny Costa's out there. Tomorrow night pitcher. He's in the middle of things.
Mike Kruko got tackled, and everything has broken loose at the ballpark now. And you only hope there are no serious injuries. There's Ken Daly in the middle of it all.
They got somebody over there. This is Ricky Horton. Whitey's got somebody down. You can't see that there. Youngblood. Whitey's trying, little Whitey over here.
Oh, is Whitey hot?
And Youngblood still has Ricky Horton down. Now his teammates are coming to him.
Joel Youngblood. Was it Youngblood and Whitey?
No, well, it was Whitey, and Whitey tried over there to save Horton. Now he's still got a bunch of them going down here.
It was Kutcher, the backup outfielder, Randy Kutcher, that was really in it with Whitey Herzog, and this crowd is chanting, Whitey, Whitey, Whitey.
There's Coleman. Mike Heath has got Vince Coleman trying to contain him. McGee's trying to console him. Heath has got him pinned down, and McGee's trying to talk to him. There's Whitey. Well, you were saying there was an old-fashioned Donnybrook where nothing exchanged?
Well, that's how it started, but we've gone to a true major league battle. One of the biggest fights, I believe, that I've seen now on a ball field. One of the more serious.
And now they're bringing the police department out of here.
They want the umpires want the police off the field. The umpire, Bob Davidson, has told the police to get off the field. There is still a policeman in the middle of it. 4 policemen and an usher went on the field. 4 policemen and an usher went on the field, and Bob Davidson immediately told the policeman and the usher to get away. 1 policeman remains on the field. And we are a long way yet
Look over by the Cardinal
from anything stopping.
He's nothing but the
Hamilton got the bus ball up there.
Spring training 1987. Time for the players to fine-tune their muscles for the upcoming campaign. Time for the fans, young and old, to get their first glimpse of their heroes after the long, cold winter. And time for the young ball players to impress the coaches. And that's what Tom Herr's son, Aaron, does. Could be the Cardinals' second sacker in the future. But he wasn't the only one stealing the spotlight. Right-handed hitter Jim Lindemann consistently overpowers opposing pitchers throughout the spring.
All of a sudden, he's starting to hit pitches and drive pitches better than he ever had before. So he's making better contact. He's gotten a lot of confidence. He went to Puerto Rico. He tore the cover off the ball. And I think he's ready to step in as an everyday big league ball player.
Lindemann is a bright spot, but there's still a cloud of uncertainty surrounding the Cardinal camp. Jack Clark, Willie McGee, Ken Daly, and Jeff Lottie are all coming back from off-season surgery.
history.
We're a club that's probably got more question marks than anybody in baseball. And then the whole key to our ball club is going to be, is Vince Coleman going to be a better offensive ball player? If Vince improves offensively, he'll set the table for the whole lineup.
A bulked-up Ozzie Smith will hit behind Vince in the '87 season. Ozzie's off-season conditioning program added inches to his frame. On the mound, young left-hander Joe McGrain impresses pitching coach Mike Rourke. But the biggest surprise of the spring comes off the field. The Cardinals acquire all-star catcher Tony Pena from the Pirates. Andy Van Slyke, Mike LaValliere, and pitcher Mike Dunn become Buccaneers. With the new starting lineup set, Whitey and company head north for the 162-game regular season.
The Cardinals were built on defense and speed, both of which were embodied in shortstop Ozzie Smith.
Hands! Gotta be soft.
At the core of the Cardinals' running game was left fielder Vince Coleman, who was on pace for a third straight season of 100-plus steals.
We were what we were. We were a ball club that hit line drives and hit ground balls and forced the pitcher's hand with our speed.
And he's got himself an easy double.
Their style was well suited to their home ballpark.
Playing in this ballpark, Old West Stadium, the toughest ballpark to hit a home run and the toughest ballpark to score runs. After 108 games in 1987, we were leading all of baseball in runs. To think that we were leading all major leagues in runs scored the way we played baseball.
The squeeze is on.
It was just amazing.
Of course, speed was only part of the Cardinals' winning equation.
You look at a guy like Terry Pendleton, he was a king of clutch.
Pendleton hits the long one into center field. Get out of here. Wilson going back. It is out of here. Terry Pendleton.
There was also the power of Jack Clark.
As he's smoking, watch this one.
Chasing their third pennant in 6 years, the Cards led by 9 games at the All-Star break, and comebacks had become their specialty.
It's a winner!
While the Cardinals had been perennial contenders in the 1980s, the San Francisco Giants had gone into a downfall.
They made it.
But in 1985, a pitching coach turned manager rode into town with an unorthodox set of ideas.
There was no book for Roger. He played the game the way he felt, and that's how he managed.
We were not going to hit a lot of home runs, so I kind of managed crazy with reckless abandon, and I would squeeze and hit and run.
And they lay it down on a squeeze play. Give her to the plate. Not in time.
He won a lot of games for us by being a daring guy, doing things nobody else would do.
Oh, there's a match right. Let's go. Time to play. Save!
With injuries plaguing the Giants from the start, Craig's managerial skills were frequently put to the test.
I don't think we can say enough about the job that Roger has done.
Hobbled as they were, the Giants went into the All-Star break 3 games out in the NL West.
This is loaded. 2 outs. Bottom of the 10th. Tied at 8. Orozco ready to throw the first pitch to Herr, and he hits it a mile. Tommy Herr could have a grand slam. Tommy Herr does. Tommy Herr belts a 10th inning grand slam home run, and the Cardinals beat the New York Mets for the second straight night. The final score 12-8, 48,000 delirious fans here at Busch Stadium. One of the most remarkable victories the Cardinals will ever come up with. 12-8. They beat the New York Mets. What a night at the ballpark.
Oh, there it is, the first pitch, a high fastball. Sends it back to the board. You see Johnson going back, tries to jump, but it's in this upper deck. Holy smokes, there's not a seat cushion to be taken home tonight. Watch this swing, high fastball, go up there, totally relaxed. He had a good idea, he knew it. Grand slam, and there it is, folks. Cardinals 12, Mets 8.
Deep everywhere in the outfield. Goodbye.
Goodbye, folks. See you later, folks. Goodbye.
Clark sends it out of here. That's way back. Upper deck at the walkway. Oh, my, what a blast.
That thing really took a ride, didn't it?
Here it is again. Taylor Morley Simon, Missouri's largest Howell builder, where quality is easy to guarantee. And boy, oh boy, Mike, that may be one of the longest balls I've ever seen hit here.
Look at that one go. I'd like to see Jack set the table for him here. Goodbye! Clark has done it again. Look at that baby sail. Woo-hoo-hoo. Mr. Clark once again sticks it in the Dodgers. His second homer of the game. Hope doesn't like to come to Dodger Stadium. We're tied 1-1 in the sixth. And a line drive into left field. Make it over the fence. It's a home run. Boy, did that thing zing out of here. And the Cardinals lead 3-1. That's a difference. He got this one, though, baby. Another home run, and Clark puts the Cards on top. Well, you can go to the well, but if you keep going there, sooner or later, it'll run dry on you. And comes through. That's 28 home runs, 89 RBIs. And watch this Cardinal dugout greet their #1 man. Goodbye, baby. This game is history. A 3-run homer by Will Clark.
I'm sitting here talking to Giants first baseman number 22, Jack Clark.
Whoa. Will Clark.
Actually, Giant fans preferred Will the Thrill. Either way, in only his second season, this rising star would lead his team with 35 home runs.
Will Clark was a different breed. He had that cocky atmosphere about him that we all loved, and he could really rise to the occasion.
That the Giants were rising through the NL West despite a rash of injuries was credit to the constant maneuverings of manager Roger Craig.
He's a great manager. He knows the game very well, knowing that he had the confidence and never had any doubts.
Especially not after the Giants' general manager made a July blockbuster deal.
Mr. Al Rosen, our GM, he was the one that really got all the pieces that we needed to put the Giants back in the map.
Al made some real good deals that got us going.
In a trade with the Padres, the Giants acquired pitchers Dave Driessen and Craig Lefferts, along with third baseman Kevin Mitchell, whose bat packed a punch.
Fly ball deep left center field. That ball is way back, and Kevin Mitchell has homered in his first at-bat. Al Rosen, you're a genius.
If I could trade for somebody that might be better or would fit in better, that's what I did.
Mitchell did for the Giants' offense what Lefferts and Driessen did for their pitching.
When we got Driessen up in San Francisco, I was very, very happy. And also Lefferts, who give me the ball, he'd pitch every day for you.
Come August, the Giants faced the biggest test of the season, a 14-game stretch against their NL West rivals, which started out poorly.
The Reds move 3 games up on the San Francisco Giants. Will Clark hits a bang base hit. Denny Walling delivers. The Astros win it.
The Giants lost 5 of the first 6 games before coming home to play first place Cincinnati.
We'd lose 3 or 4 or 5 in a row, and the next day they thought they could still win. I knew at that time that it wasn't over, and we still had a chance to win.
Left center field, Leonard after it, and the Giants have won the first game.
Very fun to come to the ballpark at that time, and that was a special time for us.
And the Giants have made it 3 straight and climbed to within 2.
The last game against Cincinnati seemed to breathe a breath of life into us again.
The Giants were alive and well and carried their newfound momentum into the next series against the visiting Astros.
We're going to the bottom of the 9th, and the Giants need 1 to tie and 2 to win.
And the guys that can do it are coming up this inning.
Yes.
And remember, you still have Jeffrey Leonard available. He has not been used in this game.
Here's the payoff pitch. Fastball hammered deep to
Get out of
field.
here.
Back to the fence. And it's gone. on deck. If Will Clark can't send us home. Fastball, and it's all over! It's all over! Can you believe it, Dwayne?
We're taking it one ball game at a time, and we're just going out there trying to be consistent day in, day out.
And he hits one hard. Cruz will not get this. It's a tie ball game, and they get it on a strikeout of Caminetti to end the ball game.
They believe they're going to win it. They've got the bit in the teeth, and they're just going right at every game.
The Giants took 3 out of 4 from Houston, and by September 1st, they held a 5.5-game lead.
With all the injuries and stuff, I never thought we would finish this high.
Despite 122 lineup changes, Roger Craig's team had done the improbable.
They can't wait to come to the ballpark. They can smell it. They know they can win, and it's just a great attitude on the ball club.
In an effort to distance the Giants from the Reds and the Astros, GM Al Rosen was at it again, acquiring right-hander Rick Reuschel.
He wants to win. He's doing everything that he can to help, and I think that definitely has to give the players a little added push.
The Giants were set. They had a savvy veteran in Reuschel and power galore from Kevin Mitchell, Jeffrey Leonard.
It's a home run for Jeffrey Leonard.
Will Clark, and center fielder Chili Davis.
High drive into deep left field. Back goes Cruz to the track, to the wall. It's gone.
Hard as it was to believe, the Giants were heading to their first postseason in 16 years.
Roberts delivers to Mays. Swung on, fly ball to deep center. Going back is Jeter. Still going, still going, still going, still going. And it's off the wall. 20s is around third. He's heading for the plate. Mays is holding a second with a double, and Tito scores, and Mays hit it 420 feet to center field. Mays is running and swinging a drive to left field deep. That one is going back, and you can tell it goodbye. Dave Kingman hits the home run. Rookie Dave Kingman in the game on a pass because Bobby Bonds has a pulled muscle in his side. Nearly hit one out in the 10th inning of last night's game. Reuschel's 0-1 pitch. Grounded to shortstop. Fires got it. He throws to McCovey. That's it. The Giants have won it. Reuschel is bobbed at the mound by the entire Giant ball club. Juan Reuschel, who started it all here at San Diego Stadium, 162 long games ago, by beating the Padres 4-0.
This game was the game that meant everything for us.
You were really on tonight, weren't you?
Well, I was concentrating real hard and pitch. I was trying not to make too many mistakes because they have a real good hitting ball club and real good power hitters. And anytime you make a mistake, and those guys, they can hurt you.
I don't know. I guess all clubs go into slumps just like any hitters does. I think maybe we relax a little bit more than going out playing our brand of ball. We was waiting maybe for the other clubs to do our job rather than going out and playing. And I think the turning point with us was Houston. We had a get-together there, and we just decided that we're going out and play and stop worrying about other clubs. And this is what we did.
Don Robinson will be the leadoff batter. He is a pretty good hitting pitcher, although you would not know it by the average that you're looking at. A pitch is on the way, and he swings and fouls one back. Cincinnati won their ball game over the Atlanta Braves, and so if the Giants are going to win the pennant tonight, they're going to have to do something here. There's a drive into left center field. Back goes the ball. It is gone. A home run for the pitcher, Don Robinson. And we were just saying that you can be careful with this guy. He has pretty good sock. And Robinson has given the Giants the lead.
We have been saying that for years. Don Robinson can hit. And he just crushed that fastball from McCullers.
There's your story. 3 outs to go for a San Francisco National League West Championship. And it all rests on Don Robinson's shoulders. He has been the hero tonight. If he gets these final 3 outs unscathed, he would not only be the winning pitcher, he would drive in the game-winning RBI. And that came with his dramatic bases empty home run in the top of the 8th inning. And to lead things off, well, who tougher than Tony Gwynn? And he takes strike 1. And Tony Gwynn with a base hit to left field. Well, you knew it could not be easy. And Gwynn, who has singled in the first, reached on a force and scored in the 3rd. Knocked in a run with a base hit in the 4th. And now has gone the opposite way for his 3rd hit in this ball game. Shane Mack, the batter. Gwynn has excellent speed, has 55 stolen bases this year. He goes home. Gwynn was not going. The bunt is down. And it's a good one. Only play first base. They get 1 out. But Tony Gwynn is at second base with only 1 out. Stanley Jefferson, who moved into the lineup, batting in the number 3 position. He replaced Carmelo Martinez as Gwynn takes the lead from second base. Ground ball, second base, Robbie Thompson. There are 2 outs. And here comes Roger Craig. Perhaps he'll come out there to just say, hey, Don, take a deep breath and let it out slowly. This is what we've all been working for the entire year. Will Clark comes in, Bob Brenly comes in, Jose Uribe comes in, Kevin Mitchell. All the pieces to this puzzle of 1987. What a difference it has been since the woeful days of June. And it seemed like this team would find a different way to lose. But as Roger Craig has said all year long, you have to use that old cliche, play it 1 game at a time. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. A little looper to left field. Back to the wall is Jeffrey Leonard, and let the celebration begin.
Going into September, the Redbirds were 75-51 and on top of the Mets by 5.5.
Through all the injuries, comebacks, close losses, and blowouts, the second week of September had to be the lowest point of the season. Sure, the Cardinals were still on top, but the offense was sputtering and the pitching was hot and cold, mostly cold. The Redbirds started the last round of the division road games under the roof in Montreal. The best word for that series was frustrating. In Game 1, a frustrated Jack Clark fanned twice. And in the process, he set a new Cardinals single-season record for strikeouts. Danny Cox pitched 3 frustrating innings, giving up 7 runs. The Expos continued to frustrate the Cardinals, taking Game 1 9-2. The Pickens didn't get any better in Games 2 and 3. Whitey shuffled the lineup, moving Jack Clark to right and bringing Dan Driessen in to play first. The moves to bolster the sagging offense didn't quite work out the way Whitey had planned it. Driessen went 0 for 3. Jack went 2 for 4 and got the only Cardinal RBI. The Cardinals dropped another one to the Expos, the final 4-1. The Birds were beaten in the final game, too, and in the process virtually lost Jack Clark for the remainder of the season. It seemed a meaningless play. Running to first and trying to avoid a tag, Jack went down and out with a bum ankle. Going into New York after being swept by Montreal, without Clark and with only a 1.5 game lead, the Cardinals seemed to have hit rock bottom. A very pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Shea Stadium in New York. the first of three in the Big Apple, the big series, the Cardinals and the New York Mets. Well, Mike, it's a World Series atmosphere here, and obviously the time has come when we're down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I think you are correct, Jay. I've seen more enthusiasm over this three-game series than you would find in a playoff for sure, and maybe even a World Series. I mean, everything is keyed up here in New York. The press has really anticipated that, and of course, they relay their message to the fans, and the fans are no different. This place will be a madhouse tonight. It is jam-packed.
Here's one into left, and it gets by Coleman. Tuffle is being waved home. Coleman has trouble, and it's into second for Hernandez. The Mets break on top, and they're standing and going wild here. Here's a long one into right. Way back, and bye-bye. The Mets lead it 3-0. Into left field, Coleman going back, and it is out of here.
How about one of these ninth-inning comebacks?
Sounds good to me.
Again, their only hit.
All right, that's a start.
Here we go.
Even though it's just a walk. For McDowell, his second pass. And here is Hurd. And Hernandez makes a fine play. Ozzie goes on to second, but Hurd grounds out, and he's now 2 for his last 37. First strikeout for McDowell. And McDowell and the Mets are 1 out of away from moving within half a game of the Redbirds.
The Cardinals' last hope is Willie McGee.
And the Cardinals are still alive. Here comes Ozzie, and it is a 4-2 game, and the tying run will come to the plate. McGee delivers with the single up the middle and the RBI, his 97th of the season, as Ozzie comes home.
Ozzie scored easily from second, and here's Terry Pendleton, and Terry is the tying run.
Roger McDowell trying to close the door on this one. Pendleton trying to keep it going. 9th inning, 4-2 Mets. Pendleton hits the long one into center field.
Get out of here.
Wilson going back. It is out of here, and it's tied up at 4-4. Terry Pendleton.
Oh, you gotta love it. Tommy swings and a base hit in the right field. Here comes Vince Coleman. He scores. The Cardinals take the lead. Ozzie Smith at third, and the Cardinals lead at 5-4. They had 53,766 in the house tonight. The largest paid at Shea since the Cardinals and Mets met on September 11th. Fly ball left field. Here comes Coleman, and you gotta love it. The Cardinals win it. The Cardinals with a comeback victory here at Shea Stadium have beaten the New York Mets in the first of 3, a crucial 3-game series for the Cardinals, 6-4.
Through the next 14 games, the Cardinal lead over the division never exceeded 3.5 games. An early season rainout meant that the final week of the season would open with a Cards-Montreal doubleheader. St. Louis had won only 4 of 14 against Montreal, so the Cards had something to prove against the Expos. Joe McGrain pitched the first game. Did he ever?
No score, 4th inning, first game. And the pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and a ball in on him.
The key inning was the 6th. Tim Wallach found the gap in left center. Willie McGee couldn't find the handle, and Wallach stood on third with 2 out, and Andres Galarraga facing McGrain.
Galarraga's hit 13 home runs, but he has 89 ribbies. Swinging a line shot. What a play by Pendleton. Long throw, low, out. Great, fantastic. Pendleton and Driessen hook up.
It was the play the Cardinals needed because they scored only once. But it was a gem of baseball artistry. In the bottom of the 6th, Vince Coleman walked, and Ozzie stepped up and jumped on the first pitch.
Shortened up for the DP. Here's the pitch. There goes the runner. Hit and run. Perfect. It goes right through the shortstop position. Coleman all the way to third. The hit and run was on, and Ozzie was perfect.
Tom Herr sacrificed Coleman home for the only run of the game. McGrain pitched 9 sterling innings, shutting out mighty Montreal. In the nightcap, it was Greg Mathews' turn to mow down the Expos. And another 6th-inning rally from the Redbirds that carried the evening. Bespectacled Tony Pena popped a single to right and took second when the Montreal fielders met each other chasing down the ball. Mathews put down his glove and picked up his bat, and he knocked one to second. But Expos second baseman Casey Candell tried for Pena at third. He didn't get him. A little number on the infield, and Pena beat the throw home. Cardinals up 1-0. Ozzie bunted his way on, and the bases were loaded. After that, it was simple. Another Tom Herr sacrifice. Run number 2. A double steal. A walk to Dan Driessen, and a Willie McGee sacrifice, and the Cards were up 3-0. In the 7th, Mathews gave up 2 hits to Raines and Mitch Webster. It was time to call for the fireman, Todd Worrell, to put out the embers of the Expo rally. 1, 2, 3. End of the rally, and the Cardinals swept the doubleheader. Montreal took the 3rd game of the series, but a Mets loss in Philadelphia dropped the Cardinals' magic number to 1. A Thursday night sellout crowd at Busch Stadium was ready to whoop it up. And on a fine play by Driessen, grounded out in the 7th. Cox, born across the water in Northampton, England. Little check to Cox. Throws on. They win it!
And now it has come down to this. The Cardinals and the Giants in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series. It'll be Rick Reuschel for the Giants. For the Cardinals, Greg Mathews replacing the injured Danny Cox. The ailing Jack Clark will not be in the lineup. And the St. Louis tradition is here in Busch Stadium with Cardinal owner August Busch Jr. and his world-famous Clydesdales. Right now we're set for the introductions, and here is Cardinal public address announcer John Hewlett.
He led the Giants to the second third-year manager. Roger Craig. All Giants against the Cardinals this season. Batting first, the second baseman, Robbie Thompson. 22 homers, batted 306 after the trade to the Giants. Batting second, third baseman, Kevin Mitchell. He set a career high in Seattle. Second criminal, full bases. Third hitter, left fielder, Jeffrey Leonard.
Apparently we are having some difficulty picking up the public address, so here are the Giants as they make their way for the introduction. Andy Maldonado. Mano missed 6 weeks with an injury, but still ranks second on the club with 85 RBIs. He set a personal high with 24 home runs, including 4 against the Cards. He's batting 5th in center field, Chili Davis. A former U.S. Olympian who led the club with 35 homers, 91 RBIs, and batting sixth, first baseman Will Clark. Over the last 4 years, he's averaged 18 home runs. His total for the season, he's catching and batting seventh. That is Bob Brenly. And this man enjoyed his best offensive season of his career, hitting .291, hitting eighth. Shortstop Jose Uribe, and there is the starter warming up in the left field bullpen, starting pitcher and batting ninth, Rick Reuschel. So Rick Reuschel, 38-year-old, who pitched 3 2-hitters this season. He ranked number 4 in the National League in earned run average. And now the National League East Division champion St. Louis Cardinals. First the coaching staff and the non-starters. Cardinals hearing it from the crowd. In his 8th year as manager of the Cardinals, Whitey Herzog. Man who ran away with this year's Major League stolen base title, had 109. He is batting first, left fielder Vince Coleman. In the number 2 position, 8-time Gold Glove winner, who had a big season, an average, and in the RBI department, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith. Playing second base and batting third, 83 RBIs. Second on the club in game-winning RBIs, Tommy Herb. And here's the man replacing the injured Jack Clark, making his 4th appearance in league championship play. He's hitting for first baseman Dan Driessen. In the number 5 spot with 105 RBIs to set a new Cardinal record for center fielders, Willie McGee. In the number 6 slot, playing third base, he had that key home run against the Mets. 96 RBIs in all, Terry Pendleton. In right field, as a pinch hitter, came over with a batting average of .389 this season. He's hitting 7th, Kurt Ford. And batting 8th and catching. Playing in his first LCS, here's Tony Pena. And warming up in the right field bullpen, one of 3 11-game winners on the Cardinals staff. Apparently he has made it to the dugout. And he is replacing the injured Danny Cox. As we mentioned earlier, Cox out with that stiff neck. So Greg Mathews draws the nod. Record of 11-11 this season. So there are the starting lineups. And right now, the Cardinals and Giants awaiting the singing of our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, the St. Louis Cardinals are proud to welcome one of our country's most popular Hispanic entertainers to perform the national anthem at tonight's National League Championship game. Please give a St. Louis welcome to Anna Connie.
And this is Anna Connie to sing our national anthem.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the toilers land gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched
be singing our national anthem in a moment. Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola with the play-by-play. I'm Marv Albert. We'll be back in St. Louis after this NBC News Digest.
I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, and already a headline before Game 1 even starts.
Whitey's had injuries all year long, and we thought Danny Cox was going to pitch tonight. He's out, and Mathews will be the pitcher, but that's been the story of the Cardinals all year.
Indeed, so a left-hander on the mound, meaning the Giants will change their lineup. But when you look at the two teams, no matter who's pitching, there's a totally different sense of attack.
Definitely. The Cardinals have to manufacture runs. Clark is out of the lineup. They have no legitimate home run hitter. That means they'll be running.
And the Giants, of course, relying on pitching, bullpen, plus a ball club that generates a lot of runs. They are second in the National League in home runs. They hit 16 home runs against the Cardinals, 9 here in St. Louis.
The pitching tonight, though, with the Giants, Reuschel looks like he might be able to stop some of that Cardinal attack because he does have a good move. He does pitch low, meaning ground balls, but I guess the big battle will come when Coleman gets on base.
And the defense, of course, on both sides will be very much up in the air. The Giants #1 in the major leagues in turning to double plays, but the Cardinals are no slouch, especially on AstroTurf.
Well, you know, when they talk about building a ball club for a ballpark, the Cardinals are built here, but you have to think defense. They can cut the gap. They can stop that ball from going there, and they get to it quickly, so that's why they're built for this ballpark.
And if it means anything, in 6 games played during the regular year, they split the 6, but it should be noted that in 4 of those 6, Vince Coleman was not playing for St. Louis. We'll check the starting lineups. We'll have all the pregame stats and stories all coming up right after this. A beautiful fall evening here in St. Louis, and just moments ago, the chairman of the board, the president, and chief executive officer of the St. Louis National Baseball Club, August A. Busch Jr., and the ceremonial first ball toss. Arriving in the stadium on his wagon drawn by the Clydesdales, Mr. Busch reaching Tony Pena on the fly. It should be noted, and here we go. Robbie Thompson, then Kevin Mitchell and Jeff Leonard against left-hander Greg Mathews, an 11-game winner who didn't figure to pitch this game, but then Danny Cox came up with a bad neck. 1 ball and no strike to Rob Thompson. As a leadoff man, Thompson strikes out a lot, over 90 times. He's a very good bunter. And later on in the series, if he comes up in a situation where there might be a squeeze, he'd be just the man to look for. 1-1. Greg Mathews with a record of 11-11. He was 0-2 against the Giants this year, 1-2 lifetime, replacing Danny Cox, who won 11. The Cardinals, the first division winner ever without a 14-game winner. 1 ball and 1 strike to Rob Thompson. Cued off the end of the bat, a one-hopper that gets away from Driessen, and there was a lot of English on that ball because it was cued. So Rob Thompson squirts one off the end of the bat. Driessen unable to come up with it and will draw an error. And that will bring up Kevin Mitchell.
Driessen looked like he was going to make an easy play out of it. He just botched it. You can see why Thompson would be out in front of Greg Mathews. Mathews changes speeds a lot. His fastball really sets up the other pitch. He doesn't have the kind of a fastball that'll blow you away. He'll spot the fastball, and then he'll change speeds. His biggest strength is that ability. He controls that strike zone pretty good when he's on, and it's pitch selection that'll make the difference.
Well, here's Kevin Mitchell. A lot of sock in the #2 slot with 22 home runs. Rob Thompson taking his lead at first. Stole 16 bases during the regular year. And Mathews takes a look and then comes for a strike. On deck, Jeffrey Leonard. Going head-to-head, not that it really means anything, but during the regular year, the Giants beat the Cardinals 7 out of 12, splitting 6 games here. But they hit more home runs at Busch Stadium than they did at Candlestick. Ground ball to the hole, base hit into left field. So an error followed by a single, and the Cardinals are in trouble. I think it should be mentioned, we all learned something from history. But the team that has opened the National League Championship Series at home has lost the League Championship Series the last 4 years. In fact, the team opening at home has won only 5 of the 18 series. So you usually hear about the home field advantage, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. And now Jeff Leonard with first and second and nobody out. Leonard had a bad wrist. There were those who felt it's just as well he wasn't going to play tonight. With Danny Cox, he was not in the original lineup.
That's how Mathews has to pitch. He has to change speeds, get it out of that zone, and hope that they chase the bad ball.
0-1 to count at Jeff Leonard. We're just starting. High fly ball to straightaway center. It's playable. However, the runners go to tag. McGee for the catch. And moving over is Rob Thompson, and the throw offline, and both runners advance.
Vin, that's one of the things that Zimmer talked about, how different it is to coach on artificial surface than it is in natural grass. He wants his guys to tag up because there is no mediocre arm as far as he's concerned on artificial surface. Picking up that base on the fly ball means that they can score easily on the base hit. You could see Zimmer was really screaming to Thompson to tag up and come on over.
You can also make a little scouting report. The Giants sacrificed the fewest number of times of any team in the National League, so you don't really look for them to lay one down. Maldonado is a Jekyll and Hyde. He didn't do much hitting at Candlestick, but he was hitting close to 350 on the road. Strike, off speed. Mathews, with a lot of off-speed stuff, leads the Cardinal staff in strikeouts. In fact, Whitey Herzog said he always gets in trouble when he tries to rely on an 83-mile-an-hour Hummer. 0-1 to count. 0-2 as Maldonado chasing that.
One of the problems they had was that Mathews started to worry about how hard he was throwing, and it took a while for Mike Rourke to work with him, the coach. And what he has to do is change speeds, get that ball outside the zone like he did there, and make them chase it.
The infield back with only one out in the first inning. Ground ball to third. A full 360 by Pendleton, but he goes to first. Terry might very well have had a play at the plate, but he elected to go for the out, and the run scores.
That was a contact play as far as the Giants are concerned. The runner breaks as soon as the ball is hit. Now Pendleton turns around. He's got an idea to go to the plate, and I think he had a play there, but he wanted to make sure of the out, because if he doesn't get him at the plate, then it's a big inning. But you see him take a look, and he wants to go to the plate, and then he says, no, I better make sure of the one out.
So the Giants get the jump on the Cardinals. Terry Pendleton opting for the out as the run brought in by Thompson, who tagged and moved over on the fly ball. And here now is Chili Davis. Chili Davis, a switch hitter. He has a little better numbers as a right-handed batter and more power from this side of the plate. Chili commanded a lot of respect this year. You might not realize it, but he led the Giants in getting intentional walks. He also strikes out a lot. He has struck out over 100 times. Fouled away, or first, out of play, and the count 0-2. It's 330 down the lines here at Busch, 383 up the alleys, 414 to center. That's the deepest center in the National League, and that wall is 10 feet high. One ball, two strikes.
You might take a note from our center field camera, like on that last pitch. Pena behind the plate will move to help his pitcher Mathews, but he'll move at the last second, last possible moment. He's been inside, he's been outside on Chili Davis.
I've always marveled about Tony Pena and his glove or mitt. On the corner, strike three call. We'll look at it later, but that's probably the smallest catcher's mitt, certainly in the major league. One run, one hit, an error, a man left at the end of a half an inning. Giants won. Here come the Cardinals.
The three major reasons we've been successful throwing out the Cardinals have been Roger Craig calling pitch outs and throws to first from the bench. Our pitchers doing a good job of keeping the runner close and giving Bob Melvin and myself a chance to throw him out, and that's the third part. We both feel we can throw the ball pretty well.
Bob Brenly, along with Bob Melvin, have helped the Giants with the best success ratio against opposing base stealers. They've thrown out almost 40%, 4 out of every 10.
Vin Reuschel does get rid of that ball in a hurry. They got him clocked at 1.25. Catcher, talking to Melvin, if they get it at 1.9 in a 4-second tag, you're talking about 3.5. And if you can get that ball down there in that kind of time, you're going to get most everybody, including a Vince Coleman.
Rick Reuschel, 13-9. He was 1-1 against St. Louis, 16-13 lifetime. and has turned in so many quality starts, 21 of 33. One thing about Coleman, as a leadoff man, he will have some difficulty getting aboard on walks because Reuschel averages about 1 walk a game. A drive to center, and Chili Davis right there. So that removes Coleman for a while, 1 down.
And not only that, Reuschel did what he does almost to every hitter, start out ahead of him. He's going to throw strikes. He works fast. He doesn't waste any time. He will throw strikes. And Brenly says every once in a while he'll throw what he calls that BP fastball. Just turns it over a little bit, not a hard one, but for a good strike.
Ozzie Smith, a much better hitter, left-handed, and has had a big year. 75 runs batted in, and if you add that to 104 runs that he scored this year, you realize what kind of a season he has had. Plus, he's just about a cinch to win his 8th consecutive Gold Glove. He has 7 straight. Fouled away.
The strategy on Reuschel, as far as Coleman concerned, Smith, probably her, and I'd say McGee, Pendleton, is to hit that ball from the middle over.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Time called. Interesting baseball story. Rick Reuschel made his debut for the Cubs against the Giants, won his first major league victory against the Giants. His first major league shortout was against the Cardinals. In the dirt, dug out by Clark. So Ozzie is out. Uribe to Clark, 2 down.
Uribe, an outstanding year. In fact, Bob Kennedy used to be general manager of the Cubs, former major leaguer, now with the Giants, says Uribe is the most valuable player of these Giants. Said he may not be as acrobatic as Ozzie Smith, but he does it all, and he showed you right there.
He was involved, was Uribe, in the Jack Clark deal for Gary Racich, Dave LaPointe, David Green, and Uribe was in a trade under the assumed name. He was Jose Gonzalez when the trade was made, and of course, he was indeed, to quote Rocky Bridges, the player to be named later. Switch hitting Tommy Herr. Hitting almost 300 as a right-handed batter, and about 60 points less than that from this side of the plate. If you need a man to be picked up from third base with less than 2 outs, Herr is your man with scoring fly ball.
That he is, but if he'd have had a man on third and Reuschel threw him the pitch he just threw him, man, that was a great shot from center field. It's that sinker ball, the outside part of the plate. That's where Reuschel pitches it. You'll see ground balls, and you have to hit him in the middle to the opposite field.
1-1. Just missed, ball 2. If indeed Reuschel is sound tonight, it will disprove a theory that was going around the National League, because in his last 3 starts, he gave up 16 runs, and a lot of people said, oops, he's got a tender elbow. But Rick just rolling along in high gear. Fouled away.
Roger Craig said it was location, that he was just missing and balls were getting through there, but his stuff was fine. That was the explanation they gave.
He's put in some remarkable work as he concentrates on Tommy Herr. 2 down, first inning. Cardinals leading the Giants leading the Cardinals 1-0. They cashed in a Cardinal error. High fly ball into left field. Jeff Leonard is calling. And that'll be that. So the Cardinals tiptoe through the first inning, and at the end of 1. Giants 1, Cardinals nothing.
Winner of this year's National League Rolaids Relief Man Award, Steve Bedrosian, with a record 13 straight saves. Presenting the award, John Walsh, president of American Chicle, makers of Rolaids.
Thanks, Mel. Rolaids never forgets what relief means. So this year, we're proud to recognize the league's top relief man with this award. For the first time, Rolaids spells relief, Steve Bedrosian.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Rolaids, for this prestigious honor. I'd like to thank my teammates and my coaches for all the help they've given me this year.
Jose Morales, one of the coaches, talking to Uribe. Morales has a pad. He charts every pitch, and then he talks to him. And what he's doing between innings is kind of interesting. He believes, you watch the opposing pitcher warm up between innings, that pitcher usually throws the pitch that he has the most confidence in the most often. So he watches that and then will set up what he thinks that the pitcher will use against his players. And with his chart, he was talking to Uribe and has him all set up. Clark, I don't think he worries too much about it.
Look out for the first pitch with Will Clark, but that one was out of the strike zone. Will has 35 home runs. 10 of them is when he swings at the first pitch. So if you're keeping a little scouting report on him, be careful with the first one especially. On the corner, 1-1. Will tuned up for the League Championship Series, hitting a pair of home runs Sunday to get him to 35. Only the 7th player in San Francisco history to reach the 30 home run plateau. 7 of them against left-handers. Greg Mathews, who pitched 2 innings on Sunday, rushed into the breach because Danny Cox unable to pitch. Ground ball to the hole. Tommy Herr plugs it up. A 360 to Driessen. Fine play. Tommy Herr making a good play to take a hit away.
He simply outruns this ball, doesn't give up on it. Looks like it's going to get by because of the artificial surface. He has to make the complete turn to get some kind of a brace to get something on the throw, and he made a fine play.
Watching him make the 360 reminds us so far of the biggest decision of the night in the first inning when Pendleton did the 360 on the ground ball and opted to go to first, where it appeared from up here as if he had a play at the plate. And that's right now the difference in the game, 1-0 Giants. Two balls and no strikes to Bob Brenly.
Brenly gets ahead of you, Van. He can give you some pop. I mean, he gives you a pretty good home run cut, 2-0 and 3-1.
And he has the count his way now, 3 balls and no strikes. We have 1 out in the second inning. Giants 1, Cardinals 0. The Giants, number 2 team in the National League in home runs, number 1 in the major leagues in turning double plays, and number 1 in getting base runners. So they have some glistening credentials. The Cardinals come right back, of course. Baseball's runningest team and the best defensive team in the National League. 3-2.
There it was. He unbuttoned his shirt on that one. 3-1, and you look for a pitch and you can get a pretty good cut, which is what Brenly just had. I mean, he unloosens himself on this one. Pena down low. He gets it in a good spot, but he didn't get cheated on that swing.
3-2 to Bob Brenly. Jose Uribe on deck. Got him. Boy, he kind of turned that thing over. The bottom dropped out. Brenly turned to no doubt asked Kibler, did I swing at a strike? Down he goes. Strikeout number 2 for Greg Mathews. And now he'll go head-to-head with Uribe.
23, shortstop, Jose Uribe.
If you wonder about him turning that pitch over, our speed gun, we might need a sundial, 75 miles an hour.
Just about over the speed limit.
Big year for Uribe, hitting 291. He had a 4-hit game in the end of September. He'd really come strong with the bat. He has always been a fine defensive infielder. A couple of years ago, he was the backup to Ozzie Smith, played maybe 14, 15 games, but now he's on solid ground. Off speed. On deck, a good hitting pitcher, Rick Reuschel. Good change. Tony Pena with that driver's glove that he wears behind the plate. It is a good inch smaller in circumference than any other glove in the league. But that's the way he likes it. He can actually bend it in half, so it's very pliable. And when he reaches in there, he doesn't have to search for a shoe in the bottom of the closet. It's right there. 1-2. 2-2.
It's got that big break in it, which is the difference in the gloves nowadays because they use them like first basemen to catch it up in the webbing.
You could probably put that inside the old knuckleball glove that was on the scene for a while. And he chased that change down and away. 3 strikeouts for Greg Mathews as the Giants are gone in order. At the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 San Francisco.
With Mathews, it's a combination of his fastball and changing speeds. Now here you see him just kind of turn that ball over. That's what the hitter sees. And it's a change of speed out of the zone. Uribe chases it, and that's his 3rd strikeout. That's when you talk about the fastball setting up the other pitches, because Mathews not going to blow you away with the fastball, but if he's got a good one and spotting it well, you can't look for a particular pitch. So he changes speeds, and he can do exactly what he's been doing. He's got 3 strikeouts.
Danny Driessen to start it off against Rick Reuschel. Fastball is hit right at Will Clark, and that's that for Driessen. First ball swinging, 1 up, 1 away. For the Cardinals, you certainly don't expect any power, especially with Jack Clark sitting it out. Clark, who furnished about almost 40% of home runs for the Cardinals. Jack Clark out of the lineup, and even with him, the Cardinals were the only major league team this year to hit less than 100 home runs. So you can imagine they've really lost the nucleus of the attack with Clark out. A drive to right, Maldonado going back to flag it.
It's a tribute to Reuschel's control. There's no sense waiting for the base on balls. As Vin said just a moment ago, he's not going to give it to you. So jump on that first one, and Maldonado makes a good play on the ball well hit. Now, Pendleton is the next hitter. Driessen has hit the first pitch. McGee has hit the first pitch. Pendleton knows this guy's a sinker baller. He moved up on McDowell against the Mets to hit that dramatic home run. Chances are he'll be up on the plate here, but now you have a decision to make. Do you spot him and strike or not? If I were Pendleton, if it was a good one, I'd take a hack at it.
Pendleton has more power as a left-handed hitter and a better average right-handed. One to nothing in favor of the Giants. We're in the bottom of the second inning, 2 down. Pendleton followed by Kurt Ford in the lineup on the corner. Good sinker.
You don't think Reuschel knew? Although Pendleton was taken all the way, he did not give him a good ball on that first pitch.
Pendleton hits him fairly well in his career, hitting .330 against Reuschel. Off speed and hit to Rob Thompson. So that's 6 in a row retired by Reuschel. It's 1-0 Giants at the end of 2, and we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. 1-0 Giants. Rick Reuschel followed by Rob Thompson, and then it'll be Kevin Mitchell. Reuschel, a man who can hurt you with the bat. Off speed for a strike, 0-1. That's a strike. 1-2. The only run, if you joined us late, Rob Thompson, the leadoff man, hit a ground ball with English on it off the end of the bat, and it fooled Dan Driessen for an error. And he eventually worked his way around to third, having tagged up on a fly ball, scored on a ground ball to Pendleton. Fly ball into shallow left. Coleman, a late start, but he picked it off anyway. 1 down. Rob Thompson was aboard on the air by Dan Driessen. That's the difference in the game right now. Rob took second on a single by Mitchell, tagged up and went to third on Leonard's fly ball, and then came home on the ground ball, where it certainly appeared as if Pendleton had a play to get him. Good fastball. That's about as hard as he's thrown tonight, right there.
Right there is the hardest he's thrown, but it just keeps setting up that off-speed pitch. When you can change speeds like he can, and fastball looks very fast.
Interesting, Thompson has 10 home runs, but he's certainly not considered a power hitter or any threat. And in his leadoff role, you look at him in relationship to where he is to home plate. He leads the Giants in being hit by pitchers. He's been hit 8 times, so he kind of hangs over that inside corner, which would seem to tell you he likes the ball away.
He rooms with Mike Eldreddy, and talking to him, he says, boy, I want some of the Eldreddy's thinking to rub off on me, because Eldreddy's one of those guys who visualizes that perfect swing and really has an idea up there.
1-2. Got him. That's 4 strikeouts for Greg Mathews. He's retired 8 in a row.
And Thompson was way out in front of that pitch, and you just keep talking about how the fastball sets up the other pitch, and that's why when you talk about Mathews, he needs a combination of the two. He can't just get by with one. You can't say, well, his off speed is good, and there you see it. You can see the rotation, and Thompson chases it and doesn't get it.
Boy, what he has going tonight so far is great arm speed. I mean, his arm is driving through. You have to think fastball, and then somehow he pulls that string.
Well, that's what makes the change of pace effective. If it doesn't look like a fastball, forget it. You'll be backing up third.
So 4 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings. There's the fastball, and he comes right back with a change in the same motion. 1-1. And Mitchell goes out after it, hits a fly ball to Coleman. 9 in a row retired by Greg Mathews, but the Giants have a run, and at the end of 2.5, 1-0 San Francisco. His name is Roger Craig, but when he came to the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955, they called him Slim, not because he's 6'4", but you had to be an old movie buff to remember a character actor named Slim Somerville. Well, that was his name. He wound up winning one of the World Series games that gave the Brooklyn Dodgers their only championship, and that was against the Yankees in 1955. He has the ups and the downs. He lost 20 games twice for the New York Mets. He had the honor of balking in the first run ever against the Mets. And then later on, he pitched in the World Series for the Cardinals and was a winner. Roger Craig. Here's Curt Ford. And he drives it to right. He didn't get enough of it, and Maldonado was right there. So 1 away, and Tony Pena coming up. Pena has been a big disappointment here after the trade with Pittsburgh that sent Mike LaValliere, Mike Dunn, and Andy Van Slyke to Pittsburgh. However, they found out one good reason why Pena was struggling with the bat. He was having trouble with his eyes. So Pena, late in the year, has gone to glasses. Next year, he'll try contacts.
It was Johnny Lewis, one of the coaches, who spotted it.
And he promptly bangs it to center. First Cardinal hit.
Pena says he has trouble with the glasses on foul balls, but I see now he seems like he's adjusting or taking them off. Johnny Lewis said he was missing too many pitches, and he said, I had that problem, and I said, I don't think he sees too well. So he told Dr. Stan London, Gene Gieselman, the trainer, and they checked his eyes, and the next day he had the glasses.
I'm amazed he catches without them. If he can't see them to hit, how does he see them to catch?
I don't know.
Mathews bunting. Down to get it is Reuschel, and the play has to go to Rob Thompson covering. So the tying run is at second base with 2 out. By the way, in pointing out Rick Reuschel handling that bunt, Reuschel won a Gold Glove in his career, so he's a good defensive pitcher.
He helps himself. Watch, he's just in perfect position to go either way. Comes up, makes sure he knows his place at first base, and makes it.
So Vince Coleman coming up, trying to pick up Tony Pena and get the Cardinals even. It's 1-0 Giants, bottom of the third, with 2 out. Kevin Mitchell plays about even with the bag at third. Ball 1-0.
Coleman's theory to hit Reuschel is to try to hit up the middle or to left field. Try not to pull him. Go with him.
Ball 2. Another thing in this ball game the teams share, catchers who run pretty well. Tony Pena and Bob Brenly. It is very rare that Coleman swings at a 2-0 pitch. In fact, would you believe in the entire season he has only swung 2-0 7 times all year. Takes a strike. 2-1. Just outside. John Kibler almost started with the right arm. So Reuschel, who averages 1 walk a game, is 3-1 to Vince Coleman. On deck, Ozzie Smith.
He doesn't miss by much. He and Coleman really watches. You can see John behind the plate. Kibler, that right hand move.
3-1. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit. Here comes Pena to score, and we're all even at 1.
That's what he wanted to do. And now you got the big battle. He's on first base, and the message is you can't stop me, and the signs are up. Go, go, go. And Coleman says they're not going to dictate when I'm going to run, because as soon as I get on, I'm going to run.
The most incredible stat of the night. Do you know that no one has attempted a stolen base in Reuschel's 8 starts with the Giants?
You're going to see it now.
Yeah. And a bluff. And a foul at the plate, and the count 0-1. Vince Coleman was saying that Reuschel has a tendency to lean. You really have to read him, but he doesn't want the fact that Reuschel is tough to run on to intimidate him.
He said that he will run. The only thing that will stop him is going to be the tarp, and he's got his tarp detector on. He's checking now with first base umpire to see if there's a possibility of a balk. He wants a little edge.
109 stolen bases for Coleman. There's another thought if you're Brenly. You have a sinker ball pitcher, but with a runner on and a left-hand hitter up. What Brenly does is look at Uribe. He doesn't have to worry about Coleman. Uribe will break, as will Rob Thompson. So that's how he knows when the run is going. And another bluff and a foul ball. One man in the Giant dugout will also holler, only one. And normally it's Bill Fahey, the first base coach, when the run is going.
And he's getting help from Roger Craig. But I tell you something, Vin, with a guy like Coleman, you're not going to worry about your infielder. You're going to get that ball and throw it. If you wait to see an infielder get over to second base, it's going to be too late. And Coleman is one of those guys who his first 2 steps, he'll be looking at the catcher, see what he's doing.
0-2 the count. And he goes on a pitch out. The throw, they got him from me to you. So Bob Brenly stuns the Cardinals as he hangs Coleman out to dry, but the Cardinals get the tying run. And at the end of 3, a 1-1 tie. Now a look back at a very special Olympic moment.
An Olympic moment brought to you by the Prudential, offering a full range of insurance and other financial services. The Prudential.
Mexico City, 1968. America's George Foreman has been giving Enos Chapoulas of the Soviet Union a bad beating in the heavyweight final for the Olympic gold medal. Finally, the referee stops the bout. Foreman wins. Says the future heavyweight champion of the world, "I am very proud. Proud I have won. Proud to be an American."
Here's Coleman breaking on that last steal. And you can see head down and digging hard, but Brenly, a perfect pitch-out throw. He gets him easily, man.
The one thing Roger Craig said that he had a special talk with his pitchers, because some of them have a tendency of aiming a pitch out, and they'll throw a 60-mile-an-hour pitch out. But Reuschel cut loose. He wasn't aiming, and Brenly makes the perfect throw.
And look where he throws it. First base side of second base, and all they have to do is catch the ball and drop the glove.
So the first man to try and steal against Reuschel in a Giant uniform. And they get him. Vince Coleman, the premier base stealer in the league.
And there's nothing that stops running more than a pitch out that works for the other club. Roger Craig, he believes in the pitch. He says it's a great weapon because you know now that every time they get on, they have to be thinking about Roger Craig calling pitch outs.
#1 in the National League in a success ratio and percentage against enemy base runners. And the Giants immediately put the credential on the desk for all to see. Jeff Leonard has started off in the 4th, a 1-1 tie, and he's way out in front of it. Some of the Giants have been starting that swing sometimes this morning, and the pitch getting up to the plate tonight. So they're having to calm down a little against Greg Mathews. Leonard had fly ball in the first inning, but it was important. And another fly ball to dead center. A late start by McGee, and this one is gone. Leonard reaching the seats in center field. The Giants, the #2 home run hitting team in the league with 205, and now put their brand on this one. And it is 2-1 San Francisco.
He couldn't pick a bigger part of the ballpark than center field to hit it out of. Looked like a fastball, and it just jumped out of here.
It's interesting that the Giants hit 16 home runs against the Cardinals and more here at an airport, Busch Stadium, than they did at Candlestick. 2-1 San Francisco, and Candy Maldonado, the batter, grounded to third in the first inning to pick up the run when Terry Pendleton opted to go to first. Strike. No balls and 1 strike to Maldonado. Chili Davis on deck. Another fly ball, but that's to straightaway center to McGee, and Willie has 3 gold gloves in the closet and puts that one away. So 1 down, and Chili Davis coming up. San Francisco, a remarkable team, only the 10th team in history to come from 100 losses to win from 1985 to 1987. And they're only the 5th team to come from 100 losses to become a division champion 2 years apart. Chopper to third. Pendleton stays with it. 2 down. So Greg Mathews, after retiring 9 in a row, gives up the home run to Leonard. Now with 2 out, he'll go against Will Clark. Clark was robbed of a hit on a fine play by Tommy Hurd. What a swinger. This kid is really something. Off the campus of Mississippi State. Wow, what a stroke. He's had a marvelous year. 29 doubles, 35 home runs, 91 RBIs. And just a couple of years ago, he was on the 1984 United States Olympic baseball team. On the corner, looking at Ozzie Smith, the Cardinal shortstop, who is really filling up the middle. He is on the rim and way to his left. That's the one thing that Ozzie Smith has changed over the years. Remember, he had a rotator cuff injury, which has affected his arm considerably. And he can't go deep in the hole. The other thing that you see Ozzie do a lot, and look for that during the series, he'll make a lot of throws on the run that puts a little less strain on his arm.
I think one of the reasons he can give up the hole, too, is that fellow playing third base, Pendleton. He knows how much range he has. If he had some foul pole down there that wouldn't move, then I think he might have to protect a little more.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's hit down the left field line, slicing as she goes foul. So Clark will come back and try it again. 2 balls and 2 strikes, and Vince Coleman, running for office, tosses a souvenir up into the seats. Whoa, just missed, and Mathews was leaving the scene.
You make a pitch like that, you want it. A 2-2 pitch, and he really nibbles at the corner. Close.
Clark will strike out twice as much as he walks. So it took a lot to take that one. And this time he hits it to center, and that'll be a base hit. He was jammed, too, and he was still able to flare it.
Well, that's a whole new thing that they have, that if you get jammed, it means you're keeping your front shoulder in and you're not flying open and pulling off the ball. You don't want to pull off the ball. You want to stay there. But sometimes you get jammed on that particular pitch, just as Clark did. He may have gotten jammed, but as Vince said, he just got it off. There it is. You see him kind of lean back because he was trying to get away from the inside pitch, kind of flicking it out there, which he did.
Well, here's Bob Brenly, who has already figured prominently by throwing out Vince Coleman. 0-1 the count. Brenly struck out in the second inning. We're talking about catchers who run, and Brenly falls into that category. He stole home against San Diego. Off speed in there for strike 2. And Brenly grounded into only 5 double plays. Boy, it's nice to have a catcher with young legs. Huh?
Yes, sir. Young legs that work. My legs were young, but they didn't work.
Tony Pena, who runs well, scored the Cardinal run in the third inning. And there's a pickoff throw. Clark on Driessen's throw to Ozzie, and Ozzie's high with the tag. Clark's feet were on the bag, and then Ozzie tagged him on the chest. And Clark is not a good base runner.
It was that one-way lead. The first move he was going to break. He broke, and they got him picked off easily. Ozzie's got the ball, but watch him tag. Look where he tagged him. He kind of just, how do you do it? And it's a good call at second base by Jim Quick. And I'll tell you, you don't see Ozzie do that. If he drops the glove, he's got him.
Sure. He kind of pulled his feet back, almost Olay, like the bullfighter.
How do you do? Like you didn't want to touch him.
But Brenly chases it and strikes out for the second time. 5 strikeouts for Greg Mathews. 1 run, 2 hits. Jeffrey Leonard hits the seats in center, and it's 2-1 Giants. And another fly ball to dead center. A late start by McGee, and this one is gone. Leonard reaching the seats in center field. The Giants, the #2 home run hitting team in the league with 205, and now put their brand on this one. And it is 2-1 San Francisco.
Here's that play again. It looks like Ozzie Smith sees Will Clark veering in and going to take him out to play, and he just kind of backs off. And really, how do you do? I mean, that's really unusual, man.
And how? Now we see Ozzie. The only other thing more unusual is to see Ozzie Smith strike out. He's been the toughest hitter to strike out last year, the second toughest this year. In fact, with over 600 at-bats, he's only struck out 36 times. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a drive into right center field in the gap. Maldonado and Davis chasing it, and it's going to bounce, and it is touched by a fan or no? Evidently no, and it'll be a triple for Ozzie Smith. So Ozzie Smith drives one to right center. It took that kangaroo hop up against the wall, and the fans tried to grab it. It would then have been a ground rule double, but they couldn't reach it.
It bounces high enough, and it was close, but I don't believe he touched him. And it's a 3-base hit, and Ozzie Smith really muscled up on that one.
Talking about muscle, that's just what Ozzie brought to the dance this year. He's about 16 pounds heavier than in the past. And he triples to right center, so the tying run is 90 feet away. And the batter, Tommy Herr. What did we say earlier in the scouting report? If you want to pick up a guy from third with a fly ball, Tommy Herr is your man. Well, let's see if that holds up. He had a dozen scoring fly balls, more than anybody else in the Cardinal team, more than anybody else in the Giant team. And he hits a fly ball, and tagging is Ozzie, but it's not much of a throw for Jeff Leonard. And Ozzie is not going to come, not with no one out at the time. So that's just 1 out, and Hurd does not live up to his advanced billing as he leaves Ozzie at third. And the batter will be Dan Driessen.
First baseman.
Driessen would like to atone for his error in the first inning that cost a run. Danny with 11 RBIs during the regular year. Of course, every time Driessen comes up, certainly here in St. Louis, the people have to be saying, oh, if it was only Jack Clark.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
2-1 Giants, 4th inning. Strike, 0-1. Slow curve, and that's popped up into shallow left. Leonard's going to have to come for it, and he's there, nowhere for Ozzie to go. Boy, what a job of pitching by Rick Reuschel. So 2 down, and Willie McGee the batter, and Ozzie is still there.
The yardstick of the good pitcher has always been, what does he do with a man on third and less than 2 outs? And Reuschel is just showing you why he's a winner. And McGee, who jumped on the first pitch and lined hard to right, is in that batter's box.
Interesting, too, you would expect Reuschel, who has built a reputation of being a sinker ball pitcher, that in a jam like this you'd see ground balls to the infielders. Instead, the ball's been in the air, but not very deep.
His hitters are trying to get under that ball to get that sacrifice fly. Herr, of course, the key man in this inning.
Half swing. They're going to look at third. No swing, says Eric Gregg. Willie McGee with 105 runs batted in. Just 1 less than Jack Clark. And they're asking him to get the tying run home. Base hit into left field. So Willie McGee, with his left wrist heavily taped with a bad left thumb, drives in the tying run.
That was a sinker ball, and he did not try to pull it, went with the pitch and sends it into left field. That was a good piece of hitting because it's a good pitch. He doesn't try to pull it. You see him go, hit the ball down, opposite field.
Now we'll see about Willie McGee. He's stolen 16 out of 20, and we'll see if they turn him loose. Big rip by Terry Pendleton, 0-1.
One of the things they talk about, Vin, unless he's different tonight, is McGee has not been running because of that bad leg. And I'm sure with the move that Reuschel has, not being able to get a jump, but with 2 outs, he's got to get in scoring position.
And you have a left-hand hitter up there, so the first baseman is on the bag and the right side of the infield open. And they'll drive him back just for good measure. Fouled away, 0-2.
You know, Craig not only calls pitch outs, he calls when they should throw over to first base. And Brenly, who has a good arm, as you can see by those statistics, he doesn't have the sign like when we saw Toronto just point over to first base. He actually uses fingers to indicate throw to first base.
Bob Melvin probably has a better throwing arm than Brenly, but Brenly is a better hitter.
He's checking with Craig constantly. If you're wondering who he was looking at, he was looking at Craig, who tells him to throw over there or to pitch out. There
you know, when
goes.
Roger was the pitching coach of Detroit, he tells about having to prove himself to a couple of the rather famous Detroit pitchers. 0-2. And Pendleton chasing a bad ball. But after he called 2 pitch outs and got 2 runners, one of the top Detroit pitchers said, okay, from now on you call him. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Whitey is going to give us a little clinic on some of his secret baseball tactics.
It's just coaching, Jack.
How to pick up the signs.
You got nobody out and a man on first. Let me use this cold bush beer here for the batter. Now, if I only need 1 run, I'm going to give him this.
That's the bunt sign.
If I need a bunch of runs, I may give him this.
That's the hit and run.
You've got it, Jack.
No, Whitey, you've got it. That's my bush.
You know what this is? That is the take sign.
Whitey Herzog, only the 37th manager to pilot clubs to 1,000 victories. Tommy Hurt tells you why. You do it his way if you want to remain a Cardinal. Because I always love Herzog's line. He said, baseball has been good to me ever since I stopped trying to play it. He wasn't a bad outfielder first baseman, however. And into the 5th, all even at 2. It'll be Jose Uribe, Rick Reuschel, and then Rob Thompson. Uribe struck out in the 2nd inning. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Giants.
Mathews, with that pitch, has made 58 pitches, 42 strikes, 16 balls.
And, of course, Mathews is the big story tonight. Rushed into the breach when Danny Cox was unable to pitch because of a bad neck. He worked 2 innings Sunday and now comes right back with this big spot. A drive into left center field. McGee was shading the other way, and he has to short hop it. And if he doesn't short hop it, that goes all the way to the river.
But that's what they talk about the Cardinals. They say the Cardinal outfield can turn a triple into an out and turn a walk into a triple. McGee short hops it, and I mean, he makes a sensational play, making it look pretty easy, because as you say, Vin, that thing probably would end up under that arch.
So Uribe, a single. Willie making a dazzling backhand short hopper of it. Here's Rick Reuschel, who flied to left, and he's around to bunt. At least he was if he had gotten a pitch. Now he has to check with Don Zimmer to see if the bunt is on.
He better make Driessen field it.
Reuschel has 7 sacrifices and tries for number 8. He's got it. Pena to Tommy Hurd.
He really deadened that ball so nicely. Uribe moves on down there. Reuschel got it on that dirt part. He's trickled out there. A perfect putt. See how hard they're charging. Pendleton coming in from 3rd. And Pena says, I'll take it. And a perfect sacrifice bunt.
So Jose Uribe at 2nd base, 1 out in the 5th inning. Rob Thompson trying to pick him up. Thompson is 0 for 2. Reached on an error and scored and struck out. The Giant pitchers are set. Driessen tomorrow, Hammaker Friday, and Krukow Saturday.
You know, just a footnote to that Danny Cox story. Whitey wanted him to start not only because he thought he was his best pitcher, but he was the one guy he could use in 3 games. He had him planned for 1, 4, and 7 if it goes that far.
1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. The other problem is that Herzog had to decide and he opted for 8 pitchers and 16 players. Well, now he has 8 pitchers, but one of them can't pitch. He is really in trouble, and he was worrying about a blowout.
A blowout, and you know, somebody comes up like Tudor or tender arm or something. I tell you, Whitey's done some job of managing this year.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Rob Thompson. In there, 1-2. Rob Thompson was scouted by the son of the third base coach for the Giants, Don Zimmer. And when Don was with the Yankees, he was saying, gee, I really feel good. He said, you know that kid playing for the Giants, my son scouted him. And now Tippy's over there in a Giant livery. Comebacker. Instead, it'll go by the mound to Ozzie. And on the play, Uribe takes third.
You can see the advantage of Willie McGee cutting that ball off. True, he backhanded, and if it gets by him and all that, but the fact is he did cut it off. And that's why we talked about, when you talk about a ball club built for a ballpark, you talk about defense, because Coleman's going to steal on the cow pasture. I mean, forget about that end of it. But when you can cut the gaps like they do, and McGee did, here is Uribe at third with 2 outs. But if that ball gets by, he's at third with 1 out.
So with that runner at third and 2 down, the batter is Kevin Mitchell, who's single to left and flied to left. 1 for 2. Ball 1. One thing you have to worry with Mathews, who is a finesse pitcher, but he does have 7 wild pitches in limited duty. So that puts a little extra heat on Tony Pena with a runner at third. And it's a hopper that eats up Ozzie, and he stays with it. Look at that parachute he threw to Driessen. Ozzie Smith takes a base hit away from Mitchell and a run, and it's 2-2 to the bottom of the 5th. We were telling you Ozzie has trouble throwing flat-footed because of the rotator cuff injury. Look at this. It was like a ping pong ball in a windstorm. It just kind of floated over there, but it was in plenty of time since it was hit so hard. So Mitchell robbed of a hit, and Ozzie got the job done.
I mean, it looks like an infield fly going over there. But you know what it does point up too, Vin, is the fact that the Cardinals are not hurting when they pitch left-handers, and you put a lot of right-hand hitters in there because you have such great defense on that side in the person of Ozzie Smith and Pendleton. He made a tremendous play on that.
Well, we see now about Kurt Ford leading off matters in the bottom of the 5th. A chopper to Kevin Mitchell. 1 down. So that'll bring up Tony Pena. Kevin Mitchell doing a solid job at third base ever since come to San Francisco from San Diego. And he's had 2 different years. Last year, when Kevin was with the Mets, he had a great first half, and he hit the skids after the All-Star game. This year, reverse. So he comes in here playing solid. Tony Pena, single, scored a run in the 3rd inning. Ball 1. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Tony Pena. On deck, Greg Mathews, who's not bad with the bat. He's a little bit better hitter than Danny Cox, who should have been pitching tonight. And, of course, it was Mathews' sacrifice in the 3rd inning that set up the run. Oh, did he have a rip and got a little of it. Tony Pena.
He's going to rest just a few minutes because that hit right on the foot. There, you see it hitting right on the heel.
For big leaguers, you're always hit by the foul on the front foot. Left foot if you're right-handed, right foot if you're left-handed. Because the big leaguer's bat is so quick, they're always out in front. If you were a big leaguer and you hit on the back foot, then you'd really be late. So most of the time, it's that front foot. And Pena now is okay.
He'd have that steel toe I talked about in there, and he'd be all right.
He'd need a steel toe, a steel heel.
A steel everything. Shin guards on.
2-2 the count to Tony Pena. 1 out in the 5th, a 2-2 tie. Game 1. Sinker in the dirt. Ball 3.
He's got a little trigger mechanism that he uses, Pena. You watch that right arm of his as he starts to get set. He'll kind of flick it in, much like Joe Morgan used to, except Joe did it 3 or 4 times.
Oh, Joe used to beat his ribs. There it is. Rick Reuschel, whose high in walks has been 2. Can you imagine a high in walks 2? Well, he walks a man tonight. There used to be a fellow in New York. They called him the nighttime mayor of New York, Danny Healy. And he would talk about it, and using Healy's expression, he would say Rick Reuschel gives up a walk as easily as he would give up a tattoo. Not a bad line.
Not a bad line.
All right, let's see if Mathews gets a bunt down now. He sacrificed in the 3rd, and the Giants are looking bunt.
Charging hard.
Clark is really coming. Strike.
This is almost one of those spots, depending on how the pitcher can handle the ball, where you'd almost say to your pitcher, lay that ball in and we can make a play at second base. Now, you see Clark really staring in at Craig, and Craig is in control of everything from that dugout.
You know, it's funny. I was sitting in the office with Craig, and Norm Sherry came in, and Roger said, don't forget to remind the pitchers about our bunt play. And I bit my tongue because I wanted to ask him what it was, but of course it was inside stuff. There's the bunt. And the only play is to Rob Thompson. So Greg Mathews does what they say he can do. Good man with the bat. Twice he has been asked to push the runner along, and he's 2 for 2. And Pena, who runs pretty well at second base, and Mathews getting high fives.
That's one thing the Cardinals have been able to do all year, the basic things, the little things, the things that seem to get lost in the box score, but they put up the right numbers at the end.
When you realize the Cardinals 5 times in the last 6 years have been last in home runs. One year they weren't last because Pittsburgh hit fewer, but that's why they have to do so many little things to beat you. And here is Coleman. Fly to center, single to drive in a run, and then was thrown out trying to steal. Strike. 0-1. Check swing, no swing, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Coleman, Smith, Herr, McGee, and Pendleton are all switch hitters. It's almost as if you have 13 men in the lineup. Ball 2.
It's a funny pitch. It looked like an overhand curveball that he threw there and got it way inside, like he was almost giving him a ball and set it up for this one.
Missed. Ball 3.
Reuschel wanted that one.
Well, when you look at Coleman's numbers and you realize he has struck out 126 times, Roger Craig watching to see whether they will give Coleman the green light. And ball 4. Boy, that is really news for Rick Reuschel to walk 2 in 1 inning. And Ozzie Smith coming up. Grounded to short and triple. Ground foul outside of first and down the line.
He really spun on that one like he had made up his mind that he was going to pull that ball through that gap. He really spun on that one because against the sinker ball, they were talking about trying to hit it up the middle of the opposite field, although he did triple into right center field. He hit the first time at bat, he hit right to the shortstop, but this one he really spun on, opened up quickly.
No balls and 1 strike, Ozzie. Foul back, 0-2. Ozzie, in 10 league championship series games, is hitting .471. You want to talk about a guy really producing in the spotlight.
Well, they call him the club's most valuable player, and you can see why, because it not only with the bat and the glove, in the clubhouse he is something special.
0-2, the count to Ozzie Smith. Pena at second, Coleman at first. 0-1. There's that pitch again. That's that same wobbler that he throws up there. 1-2. Ground ball to the right side. Rob Thompson is there. Over to Will Clark, and the Cardinals lead 2. And at the end of 5, it remains Giants 2, Cardinals 2.
The baseball player today, when he goes up to bat, he's got to get prepared, much like a doctor for surgery. There's Jeff Leonard putting some of that stickum on. Wide receivers use that in football. Now his hands are sticky, so he puts on gloves. And here he is earlier, and it seemed to work for him because now he not only hits it, he points to it and says, there it goes, and I know it's going. And it took him about maybe 2-3 minutes to get around there. He walked from halfway between third and home, which makes a lot of pitchers very happy.
If you haven't been watching much television this year and you see Jeff Leonard, you look at his number, and maybe it's a surprise. It's certainly not a surprise to anybody in San Francisco, or for that matter in the National League. 0-0. The idea was Jeffrey Veldy had so many different injuries that he was starting brand new this spring, and he decided, I'm going to start from scratch. So you're looking at scratch. 0-0. 2-0 the count of Jeff, but wouldn't you know, he hurt himself anyway. He's got a sore wrist. 3-1 the count to Leonard. Fly deep to center and then hit one in the seats in dead center. And pops it up on the right side. Tommy Herr angling out. Kurt Ford coming in. Ford has the easier play. 1 out in the 6th inning. So Leonard a fly ball, followed by Candy Maldonado. Maldonado grounded to third and flied to center. Candy is 0 for 2.
This is one of Jose Morales' projects, Maldonado, and what he watches is his back foot. He doesn't want him to get too far back and close his stance. He wants him to go directly at the pitcher. And that's a key thing for him. You see him digging in. He's got the feel just right.
You know, Maldonado in June was hitting .360 when he suffered a broken ring finger going after a ball in the right field corner at Candlestick. When he came back off the DL, look what he hit. .685. He was last year's MVP on the Giants. 0-2. And fisted in the air back to second base. Herr going out. McGee coming, but it will be Herr. 2 down in the 6th inning. Candy followed by Chili. That doesn't sound too good, but for the Giants it has paid off. And here's Chili. Struck out and grounded out. 0 for 2.
Boy, I think that's a great lesson for young pitchers. You don't have to have that 100-mile-an-hour fastball or that Nolan Ryan type to get that good hitter, because here's Mathews moving that ball around, but he had Maldonado reaching, and then he jammed him with the fastball inside.
2 out, top of the 6th. 2-2 tie. Off speed for a strike. Mathews with 5 strikeouts has not walked anybody. And picks up the outside corner and the count 0-2.
And the difference in that, the statistics on Davis, 0-2 when he puts it in play, hits .034, but when he's ahead of the count, he's a .364 hitter.
Well, we'll see what he does now behind, and I mean behind. 0-2. Breaking ball, 1-2. And he chased the change, and Greg Mathews strikes out a half a dozen. The Giants are gone in order, and at the end of 5.5, a 2-2 tie. Well, the story right now would have to be the remarkable performance by Greg Mathews being rushed into the breach following the inability of Danny Cox to pitch.
I tell you, walking in the clubhouse, I said to Whitey, "You're going to have 9 guys?" And Red said, "Well, he'll come up with something," and he has.
Danny Cox should call Walt Terrell of Detroit. Terrell missed a big start because of his stiff neck and then came back and won.
So, I tell you, when Mathews does this, it just shows you got a roster, use your guys. He has been the big story.
Big story, but it hasn't been fully written. Let's find out about more. Two, bottom of the 6th inning. Tommy Herr, Dan Driessen, and Willie McGee, and that's a strike. Tommy Herr twice hit fly balls to left field. However, the frustrating one for him was in the 4th inning when he came up with Ozzie Smith at third and nobody out and couldn't get him home. High drive into deep right field. Back goes Maldonado on the track at the wall. Got it. Tommy Herr, a long out to right field. Tommy had only 2 home runs in the regular year, and both of them hitting right-handed. And it's head-shaking time for Herr.
It looked like it had a chance. It was a fastball. He really turns on it, and he thought for a minute he had it, and so did a lot of people.
Maldonado almost running out of room right there. So one away, Dan Driessen with the count, 1 ball and no strikes. That picked up the edge, 1 ball, 1 strike. Danny Driessen at the beginning of the year certainly didn't figure to be here. He was without a ball club. Then he signed a contract with St. Louis June 9th, played 58 games at Louisville. He was promoted to the Cardinals on August 31st, 1 day before the deadline to qualify for postseason play. Fouled out of play. At the time when they brought him up, they thought he was a luxury, albeit an experienced one. He had played for the Expos and the Giants. And Driessen, when Clark went down, was anything but a luxury. If you study the history books, you'll find out that Dan Driessen was the first designated hitter for a National League team in a World Series. He hit better than .350 for the Reds when they swept the Yankees in '76. So he's been around. And there is Jack Clark, understandably frustrated, annoyed, short-tempered, disgusted. Fate has dealt him another bad card. No pun intended. Every year, Clark, if it's not torn muscles in the rib cage, and it was the bad thumb. Now it's this year tearing the ankle, the tissue around the ankle.
And if there's one team he wants to play against and one park he wants to go back to, it would be the Giants and Candlestick.
And Whitey Herzog kind of shakes his head, rubs his chin, and says he might be ready for Game 6. Lined and slicing into left center. It hits the rug and goes to the wall. And Driessen will be into second base with a double.
It appears that Reuschel may be starting to show some chinks. He walked 2 in the 5th inning. Hurry hit the ball hard, and now the line drive. So we're liable to get some activity going.
Watch Jack Clark. They also serve who only stand and wait and cheerlead. And watch the double up the alley. So with 1 out, Willie McGee, whose single got Ozzie Smith home in the 4th inning to tie it up. Now trying to get the Cardinals out in front for the first time tonight. A sinker hit into the hole. Uribe goes back to Thompson, who can't handle a low throw, and everybody's safe. But he saved the run on a ball headed for the hole to left field.
And he had Driessen picked off. Driessen thought the ball was through there. He did save the run. Now, he loses a little bit of balance here. Driessen is way up the line. Thompson can't handle the short throw, and it was a tough play for him, so the Cardinals have something going.
It is a base hit for Willie McGee. And a fine effort by Jose Uribe, although they let Driessen get away on that off-balance throw to Rob Thompson. So first and third, 1 out in the 6th, the 2-2 tie, and Terry Pendleton, who was grounded out and struck out, coming up, and the Giant bullpen will move around. Ball 1. And that's hit in the air down the left field line. Leonard coming, the ball's going to land for a base hit. Driessen will score on a bloop single to left. 3-2 St. Louis.
It looked like Pendleton made up his mind. He wasn't going to pull that ball, hit to the double play. He went with him, and he bloops it into left field.
Down in the Giant bullpen, amidst the hysteria here at Busch Stadium and calmly loosening up, the right-hander is Kelly Downs, and the left-hander, Craig Lefferts. So the Giants led 1-0 and the Cardinals tied. The Giants led 2-1 in the Cardinals tie, and now the Cardinals lead 3-2. The big play, the stopper by Uribe, but the inability to get Driessen, who was hung out to dry otherwise. Lined into right field, charging is Maldonado, base hit. Stopping at third is McGee, and the bases are loaded with 1 out.
Ford tomahawked that ball, and McGee looked like he was going to stop at third all the way. He did not break as soon as the ball was hit. A bit of a surprise. Watch McGee. Now he sees the ball hit. He stops. The indecision right there cost him. And now he just stops there. He never did look at his coach. He made the decision himself all along.
I'm sure he felt that Maldonado, at least where he stood, Maldonado might have had a play. Nick Leyva, the third base coach, trying to shepherd McGee. And you can see he gave him one little gesture, come on, but McGee wasn't watching Leyva.
He's waving him
now,
in.
Leyva says, come on. By this time, it's too late because McGee's not looking at him.
He didn't look at him hardly at all. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to make better decisions than what was just made.
4 consecutive hits, starting with Driessen's double, the infield single by McGee, a bloop single to left by Pendleton, and a fly ball single to right by Ford.
That's not typical to get that many hits and not score a run.
Now here is Tony Pena with the bases loaded, 1 out. Pena has had 8 RBIs out of bases loaded spots this year. He's been very tough. Boy, and he wanted to get them all home with that swing. Rick Reuschel has not been hit that hard, but he's up to his hips in trouble.
Nick Leyva walked down and said, settle down, because Pena really chased a bad ball. It was way out in the strike zone.
High pop foul off third. Kevin Mitchell is over there and makes the play. So Reuschel, a wily veteran, trying to get out of a tough spot and gets Pena to foul out. Now the batter is the pitcher, Greg Mathews. So that was a very big out to get Pena.
That's the key, because he can really go after Mathews right now. Of course, he can't let up. Anytime you got somebody with a bat in their hand, they're going to be dangerous. But the key guy is Pena.
Mathews had 13 hits during the regular year, including 3 RBIs, and we do know he can bunt, but of course there are 2 outs. He sacrificed twice tonight. Fouled away, 0-1.
Interesting thing that's happened with pitchers, and Don Robinson, of all people, brought it up when he goes up to hit, and he named Bobby Welch as another one who does it. They'll go up there looking for the breaking ball, knowing that most guys say, well, the pitcher can't hit the breaking ball, and they look for it.
0-1. Of course, let's face it, Don Robinson is a very good hitting pitcher. So is Bob Welch. So they would go up looking breaking ball because that's what they're going to get once in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that they're thinking that way,
yeah.
and they're not taking anything for granted.
Right.
And that's why they are good hitters.
1-1. And that's fouled away. Don Robinson predicting that he would hit a home run against Lance McCullers before he went up, and said to Roger Craig, he's going to hang me a slider. And he went up and hit it out.
Well, right now, Mathews has not gotten a breaking ball from Reuschel yet. He's got 2 strikes on him.
And there's a little looper into center, and it was a breaking ball. And 2 runs will score. And it was a hanging breaking ball. You could have put your hat on it.
It's the one breaking ball they gave him, and it burned him.
Cardinal bench. It is 5-2 St. Louis here in the 6th inning. Let's take a look at that little breaking ball and the flare to center.
He just put it in play. He reached out, didn't try to jam it or drive it. Wanted to put it in play, and he did.
A maddening inning for the Giants. After all, an infield single by McGee, a bloop single by Pendleton, a bloop single by Ford, and a bloop single by Mathews. The only ball really hit was Driessen's double. Sinker, 0-1.
And you've had 2 base running mistakes. Driessen was hung out to dry. They couldn't get him. Willie McGee should have scored on a base hit. He didn't, and yet it's all erased.
Sinker hit down to Rob Thompson. And that's that. But that, 3 runs on 5 hits. And there's the man of the moment, Greg Mathews, who knocked in a couple. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Well, you got runners on first and third with a lot of speed, and you want to get a run. Let me use those cold bush beers for runners.
Okay, I'm going to need one of those back.
Well, this guy over here takes a big lead. He tries to distract the pitcher. You get 2 strikes on the hitter. Bang, you set him down a second. The catcher throws through. This guy comes home. You got a run. You're sitting pretty.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty, Whitey, but that's my bush beer.
They don't call this double steal for nothing.
5-2 Cardinals. A much relieved Willie McGee, I would think.
I would think he's relieved, and I also think his coach, Nick Lavia, there he shows the reaction. The coach, that's all he can do is sit there. He said, man, what can I do? I'm waving. I mean, my arm's about to come off. I may suffer a rotator cuff injury, and he's not even looking at me. And, of course, who do you tell that to?
There are times when the base runner doesn't look at the coach when the play's in front of him.
Right.
But when it is behind you, that's what the coach is out there for. And the Cardinals got away with it.
Twice, Driessen was hung up, and then McGee, but it's all erased now.
Will Clark trying to lead the Giants back now against Greg Mathews, and that's a strike. Clark robbed of a hit on a fine play by Tom Herr, singled and stole a base in the 4th inning. 5-2 St. Louis, 7th inning. Big, slow curveball on the corner. Strike 2.
Boy, he's moving it in and out, changing speeds. He knows exactly what he wants to do.
The Giants beat Mathews twice this year. He was 0-2 against them. By the mound, down to Ozzie. One away. Down in the Cardinal bullpen, the ace in the bullpen, Todd Worrell, beginning to loosen up.
Now, there's the difference. If Worrell leaves his fastball back at the hotel, he's in deep trouble. Because he's a real power pitcher.
Here's Bob Brenly. Struck out twice, 0 for 2. You could see him heave that big sigh. Well, you know it's a little more than just a regular game. High fly ball into very shallow center. Tommy Herr out and calling. So Brenly a pop fly. So that's 8 in a row. Retired by Mathews, who had a string of 9, gave up a home run, and was allowed just 2 singles since. Mathews, by the way, has made 32 starts during the regular year and completed only 2. And one of those 2 was a shutout. So you can bet they're counting pitches and watching him very, very carefully. Uribe, the hitter with 2 out, and Chris Spire is on deck. Remember, the Giants have 3 right-hand hitters available: Bob Melvin, Chris Spire, and Matt Williams. Off the end of the bat, 0-1. Jose made a good play to backhand McGee's base hit, but then his off-balance throw gave the Giants a big break. 0-2.
Not only is he changing speeds, but he keeps nibbling at that outside corner, and he's making these Giant hitters widen their zone. He's really not hitting the corner. That was off the plate, but not so far that you would take it. And Uribe chasing it, finds himself at the count of strike 2.
And he chased that one. 7 strikeouts. Mathews has retired 9 in a row. And at the end of 6.5 innings, 5-2 St. Louis. In the bottom of the 7th inning, with the Cardinals leading the Giants 5-2, Craig Lefferts comes out of the Giant bullpen to pitch to Ozzie Smith. He will turn all the switch hitters around now. They'll be hitting right-handed. Lefferts, who was born in Munich, West Germany, appeared in the 1984 LCS and the World Series for San Diego against Detroit, and he was brilliant. Working on Ozzie, who has grounded to short, tripled to right center, and grounded out. Ozzie also saved a big run back in the 5th inning with Uribe at 3rd and 2 out. Kevin Mitchell really killed the ball, and Ozzie stayed with it to get the last out, preventing Uribe from scoring. 2-1. Little foul off to the right, out of play.
And then kind of a footnote to that, it was McGee who cut that ball off that Uribe hit. Instead of an extra base hit, it was a single.
Right.
And then that was the 3rd out. They were not able to score. I say in most ballparks and most outfielders, that ball gets by.
Lefferts' role with the Giants, basically the left-handed setup man for Scott Gereltz, and then Don Robinson.
You just saw what happens a lot with catchers. Brenly thought that was the strike. He walked back and said something to Kibler. Kibler walked in front of the plate and answered him. Nobody knew it except if you'd ever been in that spot.
Look out here, 3-2 to Ozzie. Ball 4. He's the best Cardinal hitter on the team with the count 3-2. He hits over 400 in that spot. And this year, when the count goes to 3-2, that's the 25th walk that he's got. So Reuschel gave up 5 runs and 9 hits, walked a couple, and goes out losing. It's up to Lefferts now to keep the Cardinals quiet. When the Giants come up in the 8th inning, Lefferts' spot is due to lead off, then Thompson and Mitchell. And you saw earlier, Chris Spire was out to be a pinch hitter.
And you got 2 guys up that can do something.
Chopper off the glove of Lefferts, deflected to Thompson, over to Uribe, back to Clark, double play. Boy, you can see why they lead the major leagues in double plays. They just turned in a dandy. 1-4-6-3.
Uribe had something on that ball when he got it. It was deflected by Lefferts. You watch it now. And usually, when that happens, the timing is kind of messed up. But look at here, perfect, and Uribe very close to being off that bag. I can see it again.
Dan Driessen is the batter, and it was Driessen who ignited the Cardinals in the 6th inning when he doubled up the alley in left center and scored the first of the 3 runs to put the Cardinals out in front.
Here's that double play again. Let's see if Uribe is on the bag. Whoops. He was in the neighborhood, but I tell you, if you call that, the umpire might as well turn around and wait for the bench. They'll be after him.
There's one hit down the right field line. Going over to get it is Maldonado, and Danny Driessen into second base with his 2nd double.
Then I get the feeling Driessen doesn't like those bus rides in the minor leagues.
Is that something? What a story. A man without a ball club.
He just pulls it and pulls it hard. He had a tremendous game, the clincher against the Montreal Expos, and he comes here and comes up with his 2nd double. And as you said, Vin, he got it started in the 6th.
So Danny Driessen with 2 out doubles, and Willie McGee will be the batter. McGee flied to center, single to left to drive in a run, and then had the infield single on the ball that was flagged by Uribe, and it looked like they had Driessen. And they let him get away on the off-balance throw in the dirt to Rob Thompson. Willie way out in front. Since Lefferts figures to come out for a hitter, you look to the Giant bullpen, and Scott Garrelts is loosening up.
Here's where I think that wrist bothers McGee, batting right-handed. It's the left wrist, and he kind of felt for that one.
In watching him swing now, you start to file that away, because if he's in there, it'll be against Dave Driessen tomorrow, and he also has a bad thumb to go along with the wrapped left wrist.
He lets go of the bat on that last swing, so you know it's hurting him.
0-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. During the regular year, McGee is so consistent. 284 left-handed, 288 right-handed. Fouled away off to the right, out of play, so it's still 1-2. Roger Craig knows coming to the 8th, he'll start with a hitter for Lefferts. And McGee drives it into right center. Davis one-hands it on the run. Fine play by Chile to take an extra base hit away from McGee, so they lead Driessen. And at the end of 7, 5-2 St. Louis. To the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. Chris Spire hitting for Craig Lefferts. And just a gentle reminder, tomorrow a big day. The National League Championship Series at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. John Tudor and Dave Driessen. Game 2 between the Giants and the Cardinals. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers. And it'll all begin with Major League Baseball, an inside look. Chris Spire, who received the Willie McCovey Award for the most inspirational player on the Giants this year, has come full circle. Foul ball. Spire was with the last Giant pennant-winning team in 1971. A 3-time All-Star. 37 years old.
Vin Mathews has made 94 pitches with those two, 67 strikes and 27 balls.
He has been remarkable. Popped it up on the right side, and it'll be Dan Driessen. So Spire pops up, 1 down in the 8th, and what a story Greg Mathews is. Mathews, who didn't figure to pitch. Danny Cox with the stiff neck. Mathews rushed in as a replacement, and here he is in the 8th inning, not only leading 5-2, he sacrificed to set up 1 run and single to drive in 2 others. Ball 1.
And one of the intangibles, he has not used that bullpen. I mean, up and down, and Whitey making the decision to go with 8 pitchers, he really has gotten a bonus plus.
2 balls and no strikes. Rob Thompson, just trying to get aboard, reached on an error in the 1st inning and scored, struck out and grounded out since, and on that last pitch, suddenly, here comes Mike Rourke. That last pitch, kind of like a balloon, and the string broke, and boy, Rourke was catapulting out of the Cardinal dugout to make sure that everything was all right.
It's not unusual for a pitcher not to be just satisfied to get you out. He wants you to look bad while he's getting you out, and he'll throw some exotic pitch.
You know, he's done that too. A lot of his strikeouts, the hitters look foolish.
So don't change it. What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
98 pitches with 1 out in the 8th inning. He was the 10th round selection in the 84 free agent draft. Greg Inman Mathews from Harbor City, California, 25 years old. Strike. Went to high school at Savannah High in Anaheim, went to Santa Ana Junior College, Cal State Fullerton, and what a story he is this evening. Ball 4. And that would be his first walk. Now, if that's a storm signal, yep, it is. Whitey Herzog is carrying a hook with him. 1 walk and you're gone.
Well, he went much longer than Whitey had a right to expect and thought he would do, and it goes back. You can't catch a walk, and listen to this ovation as he walks off.
Greg Mathews, who only had 2 complete games this year, one of them a shutout, got his club into the 8th, a magnificent performance, and he has reason to grin, and out he goes. So Greg Mathews goes out leading 5-2. Worrell is in, and we'll be back. Ejection, he has plenty to smile about as Greg Mathews gives the ball to Todd Worrell. Mathews had a reputation of being a flake, kind of a guy who'd send his laundry out on a road trip and then move on home, park his car in the parking lot here, and then ask a teammate to give him a lift home. But boy, he can be as flaky as he wants pitching like that.
When you pitch like that, you're not flaky, you're eccentric.
Yes.
Yes. And what a contrast with Worrell coming in, who is strictly a power pitcher, fastball in the 90s, as opposed to what they've been looking at with Mathews.
Worrell with 33 saves, going head-to-head with Kevin Mitchell, who is 1 for 3. 1-2. Mitchell battling Todd Worrell. The difference, Worrell has made 2 pitches to Mitchell. One was 97, and the other is 96.
And I think with the wind to Mathews back, 87 was the highest.
Off the bag at first, Rob Thompson. High fly ball to right field. Kurt Ford is there. 2 down in the 8th inning. And the batter will be Jeffrey Leonard.
With a right-hander on the mound, if Roger Craig decides to go to his bench, he has such left-hand hitters as Mike Aldretti, Harry Spillman, and Eddie Milner. But if he comes up with a left-hand hitter, all he has to do is look down in the bullpen, and Ken Daly is down there to try and check Craig's maneuvering.
Against Philadelphia recently, when Ken Daly was pitching in relief, Worrell went into right field. Daly got his man, and then they brought Worrell back in, and he finished off the game. And Herzog, in a bind for pitching, could very well do something like that tonight. Fouled away. John Tudor and Dave Drubecki tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. But after that, it's questionable as to just who will pitch Friday at Candlestick. Can Danny Cox come back? It will be Atlee Hammaker for San Francisco.
Whitey's looking at Friday for Danny Cox, the earliest.
2-2. And he rolled it into right field. You talk about fighting off a good pitch. And Rob Thompson goes to third.
The tip-off on that was that Pena called fastball, and Worrell shook him off only because it was the location. He stayed with the fastball, got it inside, made a good pitch, and Leonard just swung late, hit it on the handle, and with Thompson staying on first base, there was a big gap there. I mean, he just fought that thing off, fisted it in the right field.
So now Candy Maldonado coming up, representing the tying run. And Candy, with 20 home runs and 85 RBIs during the regular year, is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded to third, fly to center, and popped up.
It'll be strength against strength here.
Now back. 0-1. A drive into left center field, racing over is Coleman and McGee, and this one is up the alley, bouncing, and the fan catches it, which takes away a run. Jeff Leonard will be sent back to third on a ground rule double, and that's a tough break indeed for San Francisco. Leonard scores without a play, except the ball kangarooed up above that 10-foot high wall.
It's one of those rules that really penalizes the wrong people now, but the fan, when it bounces, grabs it, and I think he throws it back on the field, man.
It seems as if they have somewhat of a wire basket around the wall to try and prevent fans from interfering with the ball. It came very close to being touched on a triple by Ozzie Smith in the 4th inning, and now it becomes a monumental play. Watch the fan out there and watch the ball bounce now. Up, and they reach out and definitely touched it, even though the basket is there.
Oh, he was disgusted. Look at that. He threw it back. He did throw it back. He was really disgusted. But I bet the Giants are more disgusted with him.
Second and third, here's Chili Davis. It's 5-3 instead of 5-4. In other words, the tying run would be at second base with 2 out. But now you have Leonard at third and Maldonado at second. 1-1. Nice save by Pena. That could have gone to the backstop. So Leonard can't find a way to get home yet.
Easily gone to the backstop because Pena was actually set up on the outside part of the plate, and when you're going to miss, you better miss outside where your catcher is. Now look where he's set up, and I mean, he gets it way inside. That is really bad pitching. Good play by Pena.
Fouled away. So deuces wild to Chili Davis. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 1 in. And 2 runs separating the Cardinals and the Giants. And that was a 97-mile-an-hour Hummer.
I was going to say, if in 97, 96, 97, 96.6 or whatever, they all look the same after a while, Ben. You see what Mathews did, but Worrell is just rearing back and pumping.
Ball 3. So Worrell now is 1 pitch away from loading him up for Will Clark. And Mathews can just sit alongside Jack Clark and do what Jack has been doing. Wait. And that's ball 4 to load him up. That's enough to make Worrell eat his glove, and it's enough to break Greg Mathews' heart. He thought maybe No. The inning's a long way from being over. Well, Ken Daly is throwing in the bullpen. Will Clark is going to be the hitter. So he's taking out his ace right-hander for his ace left-hander. With the bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 5-3 St. Louis. Mathews, there is just so much of this you can take. So Mathews still goes out where he can win. But now Ken Daly picks up for Todd Worrell, who could lose. And in this battle with the game on the line between Daly, he of the bionic arm, he had the same operation that Tommy John had. Daly will go against Will Clark. And Will Clark, the Giant first baseman, hit .320 against left-hand pitching this year. So, I mean, we're in the high-rent district now. Will Clark, Ken Daly, and the game on the line.
They're playing him pretty much straight away, although he's got a big gap in left center field. And if he holds to what he said he would do against left-handers, he'd try from the middle to the left field line.
Clark is 1 for 3. 0-1. Clark was robbed of a hit by her, single grounded out, and Daly starts him with a rising fastball that was clocked at 92. 1-1. Bob Forsch begins to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Ball 2, and you can hear the groans. Oh, you talk about pressure.
Yeah, and I tell you, it begins and ends really with the plate umpire, John Kipper. He has to umpire that ball, but he knows how important this game is. And he's getting a little heat from the bench right now.
Somebody's touched a nerve, and the mask is off. Nick Leyva is hollering, standing alongside Whitey Herzog, and John doesn't like it one bit.
I tell you, they're right on the brink. Get a little louder, and somebody's going to get launched.
2-1 to count to Will Clark. The bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 1 run in, 5-3 St. Louis. And there's a high fly ball to right center. It's playable. Kurt Ford is there. He's got it. So the Giants are victimized in the 8th inning and wind up with 1. And at the end of 7.5, Cardinals 5, Giants 3. 1,331, the largest crowd to see any kind of event at Busch Stadium. And amongst the 55,000, this fan has had a great deal to do with the game. By interfering with that ball, it deprived the Giants of a run and has kept it a 2-run game instead of a 1-run game. There's one of the fellas who reached over and interfered with the ball in play. Right. You work all year with your pitchers and your infielders and your outfielders, and you try to cover everything, and then a fan sticks his finger in the pie. 1 ball, now 2. 2-1. Ball 3. They have a basket out there, a wire netting that runs the length of the top of the wall in left center to center to try and prevent a fan from leaning over and catching a ball. But as we have seen tonight, it did not prevent the fan from getting right out on with his hands over the netting. So 5-3 Cardinals, bottom of the 8th. Pendleton, Ford, and Pena, and Scott Garrelts, the 3rd Giant pitcher. Reuschel, Lefferts, and now Garrelts. Got him. Pendleton caught looking. It's the 2nd time he's gone down on strikes. The Cardinals, needless to say, do not see eye to eye with John Kibler's judgment. But the dugout would appear to be quiet for the moment. Boy, they were growling at him while Daly was pitching with the bases loaded. Kurt Ford flied to right, grounded to 3rd, single. It was his single to right field that confused Willie McGee and irritated Nick Leyva. Bad hop, and Clark stays with it and flips to Garrelts. You talk about big league reflexes. Wow.
Boy, I remember Frank Crosetti, the great Yankee coach, always saying, hey, anybody can field a good hop. Show me the guy who come up with the bad hop. You're going to see it right here. He saves a two-base hit. Look at there. What reflexes.
And boy, that thing was ripped. So 2 down in the 8th inning. By the way, if you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Giants, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and Garrett Spot. And since you have left-hander Daly on the mound, that would seem to neutralize Spillman, Milner, and Aldrete, and mean that Melvin and the rookie Williams are the right-hand hitters available. Now back. Pena has singled and scored, walked and fouled out. He fouled out in a tough spot in the 6th inning with the bases loaded, only to get off the hook when Mathews came up and hit the little breaking ball into center field for a base hit and a couple of RBIs. 0-2. Might have gone after a bad ball. He put a little angry on that swing. Down he goes, and at the end of 8, the Cardinals 5, the Giants 3. Danny Cox, who was supposed to pitch tonight and couldn't, and gave way to Greg Mathews, who's been the big story of the night. The question now is whether Cox will be available to pitch for the Cardinals Friday night at Candlestick. We do know John Tudor goes tomorrow against Dave Dravecky. And we also know that Ken Daly will open up the 9th inning against Bob Brenly and Jose Uribe. And he's backed up in the Cardinal bullpen by right-hander Bob Forsch and left-hander Ricky Horton. 5-3 St. Louis in the 9th. Been a tough night for Brenly. It started out promising when he threw out Vince Coleman trying to steal, but with the bat, Brenly has struck out twice and flied out. Strike.
He's been behind the pitcher all night long. The pitchers have been getting ahead of him and making Brenly hit their pitch.
High foul off to the right and out of play, and the count 0-2. Got him for the 3rd time tonight. So Bob Brenly is caught looking one away in the 9th inning, and that look tells it all. As slowly but surely we run out, we would like to thank a lot of folks. Executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer and director of tonight's game, Harry Coyle. Bob Brenly doesn't feel like thanking anybody. The producer of tonight's game, John J. Filippelli. The pregame producer, Steve Dance, and the pregame director, Richard Klein. And a reminder to stay tuned for local news at the conclusion of the ball game, and that's up the middle. So Uribe keeps the door open with a single to center, and Bob Melvin will come up and bat. They've already used Spire, so now Melvin.
You can see how important that interference call is. Now, not interference, but that ground rule double with the fan. 5-3 ball game. Tell you a difference if it's a one-runner.
Oh, it's a killer. And, of course, to take a point off the scoreboard is always bad news in any sport. Leonard walks in on the double by Maldonado, but is sent back and never scores. So it's 5-3 Cardinals in the 9th, 1 out. And here is Melvin. Strike. Melvin 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter, but hitting less than 200 for the year. And on deck, the leadoff man, Rob Thompson. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They really don't expect, as we look at Roger Craig, Melvin to pull Daly. McGee is really in right center field. There's a big gap in left center field. That tells you what they think of Daly's stuff.
Ground ball hard to short. Ozzie Smith to Tommy Hurd to Driessen, dug it out. The St. Louis Cardinals, who appeared so downcast over the loss of their starting pitcher, over the loss of Jack Clark, and the Giants, who had to come in here feeling confident, and it is the Cardinals, 5 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error, and the Giants, 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. And somewhere in left center field, there is a fan who had a great deal to do with the outcome of the ball game. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite player of the game has to be pitcher Greg Mathews. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Greg Mathews to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. And what a lift he gave the Cardinals.
Yes, he did. And give Whitey Herzog some credit. As Red Shandine said,
he'll come up with something, and he certainly did.